It's Hot 937, Hartford's number one for hip hop and R&B. This is the B2C team. My name is Jenny Boom Boom. DJ Michi is here.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning to you there, sir. And today we have Aldwin Allen, who's the Senior Director of Community Programs for the Village for Families and Children, and Aaron Haberman here from Travelers. Welcome to you both.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So today you are talking about your attendance initiative and how the Village and Travelers are working together on this. So Aldwin, would you like to start?
Okay, absolutely. This is another partnership. I mean, we cannot forget Hartford Public Schools. Hartford Public Schools had reached out to Travelers, and Travelers had a conversation with us because when these sorts of crises arise, I mean, the goal is to try to solve it as quickly as possible. So we received the call, and the conversation was really about the attendance rates in the schools. And since the pandemic, we had many iterations of what it's supposed to look like. So first you go to school online, right? Then there was some hybrid learning, right? Then there was some in-person classes in the schools, and families were confused. So it created some disruption there in attendance. And over time, they were able to meet and smooth things out. But overall, children have been having trouble getting to school. Some of the issues that they've been having, they range, but overall, we got a call because they said, hey, listen, we're concerned about children not coming to school and then missing the opportunity. How can we work with community providers, work with the Travelers to solve this problem?
So that's where you guys came in there, Aaron, huh?
That's right. Yeah, we have a really long-standing partnership with Hartford Public Schools, and at this time, it's such a challenging time for so many. But to be a teacher or a student right now, it's just unimaginable the barriers. So we have frequent check-ins with the superintendent, and on one of these, she just mentioned that her families were challenging, that the getting kids to school, that attendance numbers aren't what they should be. And we also have a long partnership with the Village, and we've worked with them on attendance initiatives for the younger grades in the past. And so I was able to make the connection. So much of this role being in philanthropy and in the community is about making the connection within our partners. And to the Village's credit, every time I call them with some kind of idea, they always try to make it work and say yes.
Can I say too, Aaron, because we interview folks every week on this show, and I just feel like people are always mentioning Travelers, that you guys somehow had a hand in something to help something better. I mean, something in the community, a better situation. So I just feel like you guys always get awesome props, like almost every week on this show. So thank you for everything that you do for our community.
Well, thank you. It's my role it's certainly a privilege to have the resources to deploy to the needs in the communities, and to have leadership that let us go really deep, so that we really know our partners, know the issue, and we can really be a thought partner, not just a funding partner.
Yeah, wow, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Meech.
No, I was just gonna say, with I know you mentioned Aldwin, it's a lot of different reasons, when it comes to the lack of attendance. But like, what do you think is the biggest reason?
The biggest one, it ranges. I mean, there have been major outreach since the pandemic started. We started doing inventories with families, right? We're figuring out what it is that's going on. And there were a lot of connection issues. First issue was people didn't have laptops. They weren't able to, they didn't have the tech at home. So that hurdle was tackled early during this pandemic. And there was giant distributions being held for over 5 months of distribution, right? Then with that, you realize there was tech support issues that came along with those laptops. Then you're realizing that not every home was set up for a child to learn in it. You have an environment where you have children aging from middle school, elementary school, and high school in the same space, and that space might not be spread out enough for children to be able to do their work. You need a comfortable position. You need to be well lit. If you're going to be sitting doing homework in the same environment where your brother just finished yanking your ear the night before, it feels different doing education in that space. So there's some prep pieces that need to be done with families, and then we have to offer workshops for that, right? Then you find out that there are connectivity issues where they don't have their Wi-Fi is glitching or they don't have it. So the city stepped in, Comcast stepped in, other partners stepped in to, again, make sure those laptops were there, make sure the tech support was there, make sure sort of the support for families to understand how to do this home work environment was there. And then they'll also make sure that they had hotspots where possible. So it ranges. And then after you layer all that together, you have to deal with the fact that these are children. And they are used to consistency. The best thing you can give to a child is consistency. When the world shifts like this, children feel it the most, and the ripple effects are the longest. So in answer the question, I wish I could say something specifically, but it ranges from family to family. But in just the things I've discussed, you can imagine what a child is experiencing. And again, sitting in a classroom that is also your dining room or living room or even bedroom for that matter, for 6-7 hours a day. Oh man, we're asking a lot of children, we're asking a lot of parents, and that's something that we're very sensitive to when we look at these numbers. It's not a blame game. It's just saying, listen, we're in this together. This is a global catastrophe. And the fact that you feel it the way you do, absolutely, we understand. Let's reach out, let's reach in, let's lean up together and try to resolve it together, because your situation is not unique. The world is experiencing this at the same time.
Right. Yeah. And we're talking about younger kids, especially. I mean, 8th graders, you guys are targeting right now. I mean, I can see high school kids. I can see them being like, yeah, I'm not going to attend school or whatever, make up an excuse of why they don't want to attend class or don't want to go back. Like, I understand that. But 8th graders, I mean, I know 8th graders must feel a sense of, responsibility to be in class, to either be there virtually or in person, because they haven't really reached that, that teenage thing yet, the high school thing yet. So, what are these parents saying to you when you guys are reaching out to them?
Oh, parents are saying a variety of things. As we're working with parents, again, it's been connectivity issues, it's been supporting issues. I mean, one of the things that's so interesting about 8th graders is that they're at that space, right? They're pubescent, right? Some prepubescent, depending on gender and development and things. But what's happening at that stage is they are no longer being led to school by their parents, right? They are now on their own to sort of navigate the world. And every time a parent tries to lean in, they're like, I'm grown, right? I'm grown. We've all heard it, right? And so parents struggle with, how do you support someone? Am I pushing in too much? Do I need to step back more? And as we are flexing in and out, the child has experiences, whether good or bad. So this time, the middle school age it's a prime time for children to get lost. And it's not because people don't love them or people aren't caring or what have you. It's the mixed messaging, and developmentally, each child is different, right? We have this nice giant block that we could put people in, but then when you look in that block, there's a continuum. There's 0 to 100, and your child fits somewhere in there. And if you have 2 children, they will fit in 2 different places. So that's what we're seeing right now, is that piece in between. I am now becoming a woman or man, right? And I'm gonna be flexing those new muscles, and a parent saying, I can still guide you and I want to guide you, but when I do, lava erupts. And there was a time where, you'd send them to school for 6 hours, 7 hours, right? And you had time to decompress and rethink and plan. Now, the blow up you had this morning about them getting ready for school, and when they walked out the door huffing and puffing, now they huffed and puffed to the living room couch, and they're sitting there giving you side eye the entire time as they're sitting there working. So it changes a lot of the dynamic.
Alden, are you a parent? I'm just wondering, because you just really said everything to a T. I have 5 kids. You just said, I've been through it all.
Yes, I am a parent. I'm a parent of 3.
Okay.
1 college and 2 middle.
Okay.
2 high school. Sorry, gentlemen.
Yeah. So you have these experiences. Okay. These
experiences. It is real. It is real.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I just wanted to say, from personal experience, my kids have been home since September, and and we have, we have a smaller house, but we all have space to learn in and work every day. But even with my situation, I feel like it's been such a struggle. So I can't even imagine kids that are growing up, maybe in multi-generational homes, or, growing up in apartments, like you said, that's even smaller space, and everyone's kind of just next to each other and trying to listen to their teachers. And it's been a lot for us, You know, it's been very, very hard for us and emotionally for my children as well. I can't even imagine these kids, like you said, just getting lost, Erin.
Yep. Yep. And we know, when you look at the early warning indicators that the superintendent has put out there, that this 8th to 9th grade transition time is so important. And if we lose students now, it's so hard to get them back on track and ready to graduate. So this is just a time to wrap these families and students with as much support as we possibly can, to make sure that they know there's so many caring adults that are out there trying to help them through this challenging time.
So what's the plan?
So the plan is
Well, listen, let me just break it down to you what we're about to do. Okay.
So boom, boom, right here it is.
Okay.
So how it works is we have we're targeting 8th grade students, and we're in all of the 4 middle schools in Hartford, right? That's Burr, that's McDonough, that's Milner, and that's MLK. And we're working with the attendance teams to target specifically 8th graders who are chronically absent. So chronically absent means children who have less than 18 absences. But then we also have a target group where we're targeting children who have 18 or more. So the goal is to, the range of absences, we try to cover it as best as possible and focus best on the children who are missing the most amount of seat time. Because unfortunately, if you're not there, you are not going to be able to learn. So with that, we have been working with the principals at the school. We've done focus groups with students. We've done focus groups with principals to find out kind of what are the sticking points? What do you need? What do you think we can do? And that was like the first stroke of this program, because again, the biggest thing we're fearful of, that we never want to be seen as partners, as people who have the answers. We don't. What we can do is we can find a way to access the people who are the children, who are the families who are having the issues, and then figure out how do we meet those needs. So what we got out from that group was, again, it was a host of issues, like I pointed out earlier, ranging from connectivity to just kind of space and time to sort of do it, to be able to work. And we decided sort of on 3 methods, right? And the interventions are an individual student level, they are school-wide levels, and then they're family level. And I'll give you an example of the individual student level. So students, as they are being engaged in this program, we talk to them about the importance of attendance. We ask them, do you know what chronic absenteeism, or do you know what tardy or truancy is? So we kind of lay out these pieces for them so they can understand, what is an acceptable amount. Then we talk to them about how attendance is actually taken, because of the pandemic, attendance looks different the way it was taken. When you are physically in the building, right, they see you, hey, Jenny, you're here, present, right? When it's remote, it changes, because there was, sort of synchronous, which means you were live teaching and that pieces. Then there was asynchronous, which means that you log on so attendance looked different. So we have to explain to children kind of what that piece is, right? And work with that. Then next we kind of go into, okay, now we know what it is. We know kind of the expectations. We've level set. Now we start talking about, hey, there are supports that we're putting in place that help you, right? So schools have always had attendance initiative, right? There are perfect attendance assemblies and those sorts of things. Well, there are no assemblies now, right? In that way. So now there's these virtual things. So we've taken this as an opportunity to amp up those incentive bases that were already in the school and broadcast them differently, make people aware of it differently, so they can begin to participate at a higher level, hopefully. So that's like one of the examples of sort of the attendance piece on an individual level. On a school-wide level, we're doing whole class incentives. We're encouraging things like hot seat days, where people who are entered in and you're present, you get entered into a particular raffle, and this raffle is then broadcast in school, and you're able to sort of engage in that way. And we're also able to do virtual opportunities for students to interact, which is actually one of the things that students struggle with, right? Education is about getting in there and getting that seat time and learning, but it's also about them developing socially, right? That interpersonal connection that they want, that peer connection, because again, as that adolescent, at that pre-adolescent, you're in that space where your adults become less important and your peers become important. You want to see your people, you want to touch your people, right? You want to be able to engage. So we actually are creating more social time for them, so that they're able to see and have these things that would happen naturally, because in the hallway, you would get to see somebody, right? I'd see DJ meet you and say, what up at the water fountain? And my teacher told me get back in line, right? You can't do that virtually. So now we have to create these spaces. And these are things that, you know, we're learning to adapt as this pandemic goes on to be able to meet children's needs. And that's something that came directly with the children. They said, we don't get to see each other. I feel so disconnected. That's why I don't join class. I don't know anybody. I know a couple of people I know, and we asked about things like, you know, if you're struggling academically, do you ask for help? And they're like, well, no, because I don't know anybody, and I'm not going to just talk to them about this and talk to who and what, and, you know, and emails, and it's just a level of frustration. And then also with the family, so that kind of covered the school-wide, that covered the individual. And then for family, our strategies is about outreach. It is about support. We have families, parents love their children, and they want the best for their children. And when you take a parent who loves their child, who is a great father, great mother, and then you say, now you have to become a great teacher, right? And also a guidance counselor, and also navigate the things that you probably don't even remember about middle school.
Hello, look at my face.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I have like 10 more wrinkles since September because I don't know how to do fractions. I'm feeling every day like I'm not doing a good job with my kids every day. I'm literally in the parking lot of the radio station crying before I get on the air with Michi. And Buck is like, what is wrong with you? Because he'll see me. I'm like, I don't know math. I don't remember what I did. I mean, it's really hard. And then it's hard for the parents too that are trying to stay home and work.
Yeah.
And then balance that time with their kids to try to help them. I mean, it's nuts.
Absolutely. So we're building in parent support workshops, right? Because one, you have to recognize that the one thing that this pandemic has done that other things have not, it has shown us for the first time that we can all be in the same boat. But even though we're in the same boat, we still believe we're isolated on a little rubber craft off to the side. No, we're all in the same pandemic boat. If you're overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed. And somehow that conversation about sort of reaching in, because we all have our realities, our traumas, our past that has taught us either reaching out is good or reaching out is bad. We're always trying to say reaching out is good. I mean, that's how this thing started. Superintendent reached out to Aaron. Aaron reached out to us. This is how we help, right? One another. So that is the conversation piece with the parents, is really engaging them and then meeting them where they are, because some families have specific needs. And as you're talking about sort of helping your child with education, if you're experiencing other things, basic human needs in your home that aren't being addressed, well, who is helping you with those pieces? So as part of this, because again, this is not a village initiative, right? This is Hartford Public Schools and the village working in partnership with Travelers to begin to reach into homes, which we've already been reaching into, but this time have a different window that we can open up to let some light in, and then make people aware of that and help them take advantage of this new light, so we can begin to meet the needs that families are experiencing, so we can begin to, again, help them move forward, because the crisis they met in May of what they experienced in the summer, which is different than what they met in December, which is different than what they're meeting now. So we have to continually evolve and continually ask questions and re-engage to meet them. So those are the three tiers: individual, school-wide, and family. Those are our sort of target operating areas.
And, you know, I really want to acknowledge too, and I'm sure that everyone here on this call agrees, that the teachers, man, I just want to acknowledge they're doing such a great job, and they are being stretched. Like, I can't even imagine, you know, going from having a bunch of kids in the classroom to now you have to spend 50% of your time, you know, talking to the kids in the classroom and helping them with their issues. And then 50% of your time also trying to deal with all the kids online and trying to help them too. I mean, they're being stretched, and they're, you know, from what I've experienced, they're doing a great job. And I just want to acknowledge how great the teachers are to even be in the school system there every single day with the kids and trying to help as much as they possibly can, you know? So Aaron, what's the ultimate goal though? I mean, you're talking to the families. I mean, is the ultimate goal to just try to get all these kids back in person?
I think the ultimate goal is that all these families feel a connection, that they feel that, you know, if they're struggling, there are resources and people here to help, and making sure that all the families understand just how important it is that the kids log in, and that, you know, this year is so important, especially for these 8th graders who are going to be at the high school next year. Like the material that the teachers are covering, what's
Yeah.
happening in the classroom is just as important today as it is in a normal year where they're all in the building and not sitting on their couch. But the fact that the village is just such an extraordinary partner, because they're so all encompassing. They can wrap the family with whatever supports are needed. If there's mental health challenges, if there's food insecurity, you know, the village is there to help the family solve that. So that's our goal. That's why we brought them in as a partner.
Mm. So Aldwin, what about you? The ultimate goal?
Oh, the ultimate goal is that, I mean, I think as a parent, right? You know, I kind of came to Hartford when I was very young. I came to Hartford when I was 8 years old, and growing up in Hartford public school system and doing college and everything in this area, I recognize that as I think back, I think of the parents that who used to, you know, grab me and my friends out in the street and you know, correct us, right? And all these realities that came with it. You find that people want the best for their children. And unfortunately, people believe that they're alone in this. And that's the piece that I think the pandemic is sort of driving more, because our worlds have somehow become smaller, right? And I need the ultimate goal for me is that parents recognize and families recognize and teachers recognize and the community recognizes that no one is in this alone. It's a reach out, it's a phone call. And that awkward piece that we have to push through to initiate it is what we have to push through. Because once we do that piece, opportunity is on the other side of that. The opportunity to solve your own issues, the opportunity to partner with someone who can help you resolve these issues. And you can begin to realize as a parent the dreams you had for yourself. Because once you become a parent, your dreams become deferred, right? and then the dreams you have for your children. So my ultimate goal within this program is that for the families we're able to touch, and again, we're able to touch a smaller group of the entire school body, but with the ones we're able to touch school wide, that they understand that the resources out there, that they are limited, but there are people who are caring, who are trying, who are committed, teachers, principals, community partners, insurance companies, right? Who would have thought that, right? Who are trying to help you smile at night knowing your child is successful. So
Right.
that's your goal.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, as far as Travelers, again, I mean, you guys are a big company, a big successful company. The fact that you guys do such great community work, I mean, it's just amazing. So thank you again, because you could just forget about us pretty much and and just be successful, but you choose not to.
No, this is our home. Hartford's been our home for 160 years. And, you know, the investments that we're making in these students, like this is where we recruit from. This is where we are. It's our largest base of operation. These students are our future workforce. So it's a smart investment to make sure that they're prepared for these future careers.
Wow. Wow. So I'm just wondering, you know, moving forward here, because I know we're still, you know, haven't even gotten to spring yet, but there are going to be some kids that are going to be left behind, not maybe physically in school, but, you know, mentally, emotionally, you know, also with their education. Are there going to be programs possibly introduced in the summer or fall of this year? Or has anybody discussed that yet to try to catch these kids up with their education?
So that has been an ongoing piece with the district in terms of figuring out new tools to navigate this. And we are a partner not only for this project, but ongoing in other avenues within the district. And this has been something that we've been talking about for a while. So specifically, there's been talk about extending this process. There's trauma-informed training that's going on in school to help people understand this sort of common trauma, and then how it presents itself differently, both for children and adults in the home, as well as teachers, and just kind of what needs to happen to begin to navigate the things that people may be experiencing that present barriers. But as we move forward, there is consistently, as the data is driving us, things being explored that help children keep track. Fortunately and unfortunately, this is a global pandemic, right? So it isn't that Hartford is falling behind of, New York City. It is everyone has been strapped on with a 120-pound weight that we're dragging along. So our steps look much different. So as we move forward, I'm sure our new, director of Department of Education is going to, Connecticut homegrown, right, is going to begin to drive some of this conversation and see what we as a nation do to make sure that education allows children to get back the pace they had pre-pandemic.
Yeah. Because I know that's a worry in my household, at least, and
Oh.
the kids that you're talking about, the eighth graders, again, Erin did talk about this, the fact that you're going from eighth grade into the high school. And high school is such an important time for these kids because they're going to have to start doing really well so they can possibly get into college, right? So, to be behind now and, of missing class and all of that, it's just really putting them, putting them way behind where they need to be. They need to get into high school and be able to just, hit the ground running. And maybe a lot of kids won't be able to now.
Yeah, and again, so it's the sort of academic piece, but then there's also the mental health piece. So we have to work with children to help them understand their traumas, help them understand the anxieties, because you're absolutely right. This is the last 4 years before college, right? And in some cases, children will want to go out to work. So there's a reality of the real world. I mean, when you're 18 and your parents stop getting the letters about you and everything comes to your house, and if they want anything they have to go through you, that's a different world, a different level of responsibility. So there's a ton of anxiety the children are experiencing right now that they would have experienced anyway, but now it's worse. So we do have to make sure that as parents, as caring providers, that we give resources to our children so they can connect and get the mental health supports they need. And again, it's called mental health for a reason, right? The same way how I need to keep a proper diet, which I fail miserably at doing, but I have dreams and aspiration. It's actually more important for us to keep our minds in the proper space because it governs everything else. So my piece of that is to just say, for children who experience anxiety, reach out to your teachers, reach out to your guidance counselors, reach out to providers that may be in the school, and let's begin to have some conversations, because again, what you're experiencing is real. And if you continue to sort of build your mental health, you'll be able to navigate it better so that you can have the success regardless of what this pandemic has done.
So how do we learn more about this attendance initiative? I mean, I know you're partnering with Travelers, it's the Village, I know it's Hartford Public Schools. Where's the best place to go to learn more about this program?
So the initiative itself takes on a certain uniqueness for each of the flavors of each of the schools. So as you're talking about this initiative, it is your school principals, right? At Burr, at McDonough, at Martin Luther King, and at Milner School, as we're rolling these pieces out. Whenever we're dealing with schools, principals and community lead entities in that respect are the best people to begin to reach out. So parents, you're interested in it, you're having conversations, you want to know a little more, let's start there, because that's like sort of the easiest number to give out, or the easiest sort of directives to give out. So I would start at my schools, the Burr, McDonough, Martin Luther King, and Milner, and then we can begin to flesh out some conversations or have some.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much to both of you. You are Aldwin Allen, the Senior Director of Community Programs for the Village, and Erin Haberman from Travelers. Thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing. And of course, Hartford Public Schools, they're in the mix too. And just definitely, contact your school for more information about the attendance initiative. It's Hot 937.